Hello, everybody, and welcome to another KMU live podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Tebrugge, and joining me again tonight down there in Elkhart's Derek Releford. How you doing, Derek? Good Lord.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I need to start my day over is what I need to do. Oh, my goodness. Been a day. Been a week. How's everybody out there doing tonight? So far, I have not seen any comments from anybody yet. Let us know where you're watching from and shout out, hey, and all that good stuff.
We might not have very many people watch. Oh, 13 people. We got a few people watching here.
Yeah.
Christopher Unruh is here.
You can get the show shared out there. Invite everybody to come join us. It'd be greatly appreciated. Oh my goodness.
All right, man. You got your van in the it's working now. Cost you an arm and a leg, but you said that it is working for you.
Yeah, it's working. Thank goodness.
Awesome. Got one of my moderators on my YouTube channel hanging out watching us. Shout out to Israel.
See, anyone said, "Where's the ladies at?"
That was me. That was me.
Oh, it was you. Okay.
I have a bunch of lady moderators. I was wondering where they were. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of cases to get through, and I think you're going to probably talk about Kathryn Adam quite a bit tonight, from what I'm.
Yeah, guessing. I did some deep diving into her case the last couple of days. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and start the show. You're watching Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. We'll reckon 30 seconds. Let's check out some cases.
Part 1. Cold cases, stories left untold, families seeking answers, and justice waiting in the shadows. Together, we uncover the truth.
Alrighty. Looks like we're going to kick it off with good old Derek Foster. We've been covering him for quite some time. He's missing from Independence, Kansas since April 12, 2020. He was 37 when he went missing. He's now 42, 5'9", 190 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. He was reported missing on May 12, 2020. He was last seen around April 12, 2020 in Independence. KBI agents and detectives from the Independence Police Department are conducting the case as a homicide based upon findings during the investigation into Dietrich's disappearance. Again, at the time of his disappearance, he was 37. He's now 42, 5'9", 190 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. Has a scar on his chest from heart surgery, a scar on the right side of his nose. He has the following tattoos: a cross on his right forearm, the astrological sign for Gemini on his right arm, 3 dice on his arm, the name Dejeuner on his arm, and the word foo on his abdomen. If you have any information regarding Dietrich's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Independence, Kansas Police Department at 620-332-1700 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. And, of course, there is a governor's award of $5,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for the disappearance and suspected murder of Dietrich Foster. So if you have any information on his case whatsoever, and that leads to an arrest and conviction, you put $5,000 on your pocket. So get that information in there.
Yep.
I don't like to use that as I don't like to use money as a motivator, but I mean, it's there.
I know money's probably tight for everybody, man. I know tax season's getting ready to roll around, and everybody's probably got their tax money already spent in their head with stuff they got to take care of.
Right.
So it's just kind of Noah's here, Ellen's here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if somebody out there has information, they could probably use that $5,000.
Rock Chalk True Crime, like I agreed here for Ricky to help where I can. Thank you, Rock Chalk.
Awesome.
Much appreciated.
Any updates on this? I know I haven't heard anything, but I don't know if maybe you had heard anything.
I haven't heard a word. I was hoping your source would have given you some info, but what he might have heard or she.
Well, he said on the air that one night, just basically saying that they dismissed the charges due to lack of evidence. I thought they would run into that though, considering they didn't have a body. I figured it would be kind of a tough sell.
Yeah, I'd like to get that last voice message of his dusted off and played again so people could hear that. But Alex Perez, he went missing from Ulysses, Kansas on December 1st, 2020. He was 35 when he went missing. He's now 39. He's 5'11", 235 pounds, black hair that he shaves nearly bald, and brown eyes. He called a family member on the phone on December 1st and said he'd be coming to their home to do some laundry. He never arrived at the family member's home in Ulysses, and he has not been heard from or seen by family or friends since then. Alexander had been staying with family and friends prior to his disappearance. It's believed that his last known locations may have been around the local Ulysses area or the Garden City areas or somewhere in that area. Again, when he went missing, he was 35. He's now 39. He's 5'11", weighs 235 pounds, has black hair that he shaves nearly bald and brown eyes, has a tattoo of a bumblebee on his face underneath his left eye, has press tattooed on one of his arms, he has a tattoo of a cross on a chain across his chest. If you have any information regarding Alexander's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, please call the Grant County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-356-3500 or the Ulysses, Kansas Police Department at 620-356-4600 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get Alexander located and back home to his family where he needs to be.
Ravens
again,
in the house. Go ahead.
Yeah. Saying again, if anybody has any information, no matter how small or you might think it is, or no matter how unimportant you might think it might be, it may be a very important piece. So do get that called in. And Rock Chalk says she's printing flyers as I show them. So, or as we show them. Cool.
We have Sheila Mathis watching from Leavenworth.
Mm-hmm.
April is tuning in. Hopefully they're showing it to your Facebook page. Seems like we've not a lot of luck there lately.
Sheila and April are names I'm not too familiar with. They must be new ones. So welcome.
Well, they have to be watching either on your Facebook page or there's 11 watching on Kansas Missing Unsolved Facebook.
Right. And this one's Jonathan Jensen. I was hoping we'd see Jessica pop in, but I haven't seen her yet. Jessica's his daughter. Jonathan is missing from Kerwin, Kansas since June 14, 2023. He was 52 when he went missing. He's now 54. 5'11", 190 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes. He left without his vehicle, his cell phone, or his wallet. And his daughter also tells me that he does have some mental health issues and does tend to have episodes. Again, when he went missing, he was 52. He's now 54. 5'11", weighs 190 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes. If you have any information regarding Jonathan's disappearance, you know his whereabouts, please call the Phillips County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 785-543-6885 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get Jonathan located and back to his family. Queenie is saying here in Kansas City, it was very icy today, no school. I had tried to do that a little this afternoon, but it didn't succeed. So I was glad of that because I had to go get my van out of the shop.
Yeah, I woke up. So the running joke where I work is I wear shorts even when it's like 40 degrees because I'm dumb. So they told me, it's been really nice for the past 4 days. And they told us it was going to be 70 today. So I got up and put shorts on. And I got outside and it was so foggy. You could only see like 10 feet ahead of you. And it was cold and foggy for, I don't know, a good 3 or 4 or 5 hours. After lunch, it got sunny and it was a beautiful day. But it was nasty. Rock Chalk wanted me to post your Facebook page. I posted it in my comments there. On my YouTube page. So if everybody watching on my channel, definitely, if you're a Facebook user, click on that and follow Ricky's page.
And Phyllis, this is with I guess. Alan is saying hello from Parsons, Kansas. Do you have any links to follow? I'm on Facebook and your live happened to pop up on my feed. Again, Derek popped up the link there in the comments, facebook.com/Kansas Missing and Unsolved. The live usually runs on Kansas Missing and Unsolved. Also usually runs on Kansas Missing and Unsolved YouTube, which is actually under my name, - Kansas Missing and Unsolved. So Ricky Tebrugge, - Kansas Missing and Unsolved. We're also running on a couple other different channels, my personal Facebook, Derek's personal Facebook, his YouTube. So, yeah.
There's Ricky's page. It's you can look for him on YouTube just by typing in the name you see there. If you're on my YouTube channel watching, you can find him easily. You did a flyer for me a couple of weeks ago, Anthony Skinner. Thank you so much. He's safe. Do you have him located safe?
Yes, I do. Actually, he was the one missing from here in town that I briefly worked with at Menards for a little bit.
Oh, cool. I'm glad he was sound.
So, yeah, me too. Because I know a lot of people worry about him. A lot of people were asking me about him, and I was just like, as soon as I hear something, I'll let everybody know. And as soon as he was found, I started letting people know. So there were people concerned.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, and this is another Salina, Kansas case that's been very troubling for some time. Miss Haley Davis, missing from here in town, Salina, Kansas, since July 21st, 2023. So we're coming up on 2 years here pretty soon. 19 when she was missing. She's now 20. She's 5'6" to 5'7", weighs between 190 and 200 pounds. Her hair was last known to be dyed bleach blonde and blue eyes. She did leave Salina, Kansas with a male acquaintance to go to Wichita. She was last active on her social media and last heard from on July 21st of 2023. Again, she was 19 when she was missing. She's now 20, 5'6" to 5'7", weighs between 190 and 200 pounds. Her hair was last known to be dyed bleach blonde, and she has blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Haley's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210, or call Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477, or text SA Tips to Crimes 274-637, or visit www.pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit your tip that way. Or if you're in the Wichita area and you have information, you can call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4181, or 316-268-4407, or 316-263-6011, or KBI at 785-296-4017, and see if we can't get her found and back home to where she needs to be. I know she's got a little boy that is missing her terrible, her brother, her aunt, other friends and family. Just gotta get her found.
Helen's watching from Wichita.
Helen. And
Rock found you on Facebook. Nice deal.
And she's saying
Lacey Bennett.
Who was last? Are you talking about Haley Davis was last? Her dating Lacey Bennett. Alicia Perret watching on YouTube.
D.
How you doing, Alicia?
Hanging out.
Yep. And Connie Judd's here.
Alicia Perret watching on YouTube today. Awesome. Rock is sharing it out. Cool, man.
Awesome.
Maybe we can get
Thank
some
you.
busted seats, man.
Let's hope so. Yeah, and this one is Jamie Jasmine Zubia Hernandez. This is another one that is to me a heartbreaking case. And she went missing from her foster home in Athena, Kansas on June 9, 2012. Prior to her disappearance, she'd recently been prosecuted in a juvenile court for drug possession. She was due in court for sentencing shortly after her disappearance. She never showed up for that appearance and was never seen by her foster family again. There was unfortunately very little media coverage on Jamie's disappearance, likely due to her runaway status. And I think I'm going to have to make a correction up there because I said 13-year-old Jamie. I think she was 13 when she went missing because I was watching a news video report on her that I had ran across, and they alluded to her being 16. So she must have been 13 in 2012 and 16 in 2015. So I'm going to have to fix that, I think. I think I have her date of birth, and I have an old Nick Mick flyer that I think has her date of birth, and I'm going to have to verify it with that. But anyway, 3 years later, during the early morning hours of May 30th, 2015, a Kansas City resident called the police to report a shootout in the 2500 block of Ridge Avenue. According to the witness, two vehicles fired shots at each other, and a female passenger in one of the vehicles was killed as a result. The female passenger's body was dumped on the side of the road, and the vehicles drove off before police arrived. 2 days later, on June 1st, 2015, authorities announced that the slain female was identified as Jamie. The identity of Jamie's killer remains unknown, as does the identity of the driver in the car Jamie was riding in when she was shot. Additionally, Jamie's whereabouts from June 2012 to May 2015 still remain a mystery. Although she was ultimately found in Kansas City, it's unknown where she stayed or how she survived during those 3 years. Investigators said they received a tip that Jamie was in Kansas City back in 2013, but when they followed said lead, they were unable to find her. At that time, police were searching for a late 1990s or early 2000s white Ford F-150 with flare sides, tinted windows, 20-inch chrome rims, and a touchscreen device in the cab. The truck was located June 2nd, 2015, unoccupied, and it was taken and processed for evidence. If you have any information regarding Jamie's murder, please call the Athena, Kansas Police Department at 785-989-4521, or call the TIPS hotline anonymously at 816-474-8477, or call KBI at 1-800-572-7463, or you can scan that Say It Here QR code on the flyer, and it'll take you to the kccrimestoppers.com website, and you can submit a tip through the website that way as well, and see what we can do to get justice for Jamie and her family, because I'm sure they're wanting to know who's responsible. I'm very sure they probably are, because I would, if it was my loved one, I would want to know. And it's heartbreaking to me, because it alluded to in on the flyer that was probably not very much media coverage on her disappearance and stuff, because she was a runaway. And I think sadly that is a case with a lot of these kids that run away is because they are. It's like, oh, we don't want to. It's a runaway, we don't want to cover it or whatever. But I think the attitude's starting to change on that now. I really do. I think they're starting to take that more seriously.
Yeah.
And I hope they are. It needs to change. I mean, even though these kids are runaways, they need to be found. They need to be in a safe place. They don't need to be out in cars getting shot up. So, or worse, getting shot up, getting trafficked, whatever. I mean, they need to be in a safe place. So, let's do all we can. Even, I do flyers for runaways all the time. So, just when I share those kinds of flyers, please make sure we're getting them shared and help get them found and back to where they need to be.
Beverly Logan, one of the cards
again.
that Ricky helped make for the prison system a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if they come up with a second edition. That's what I'm waiting to see. But this is Beverly Logan. This is back on January 21st, 2008, here in Salina. The police department responded to 1200 East Iron to check the welfare of the only occupant of the residence, Beverly Logan. Officers found the front door ajar and Miss Logan deceased in the kitchen. It was apparent to the investigating officers she was the victim of a brutal attack. The homicide occurred noon on a Monday next to a heavily patronized convenience store on a major arterial street, which we already alluded to the fact that it was East Iron. The convenience store, I believe at that time, was still known as Green Lantern, but it's now a Casey's. But the car wash stall is kind of, if you're looking toward her house from the convenience store, the car wash stall is kind of impede your view from that direction. But even still, you got Iron Avenue right in front of her house. So cars are up and down that street all the time. I mean, that's a busy street. So, I mean, I don't know how maybe somebody didn't see anything, but apparently they didn't. Beverly's murder has been extensively investigated by the Salina, Kansas Police Department, and the investigation is ongoing. There have been no viable suspects developed. The only thing of interest on that end of it was they had originally, early on, released a composite drawing of a light-skinned African-American male with dreadlocks. So that was a person of interest because the person was standing out on the corner in front of her house around the time that this happened. And then with no explanation, not too long after that, pulled that sketch and said, nope, not a person of interest anymore, with, like I said, with no explanation. So don't understand what changed that, but because they've never explained it. So I don't know. But if you have any information regarding Beverly's death, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210, or you can call Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477, or you can text SA Tips to Crimes 274-637, or go to www.pd.salina.org, and there's a Crime Stoppers link there that you can click on to submit a tip. There is a reward of $11,000 being offered for information leading to an arrest and conviction in Beverly's murder. So people, let's get some information in so we can help get some justice for her and her family. I have recently spoken with her niece, and we spoke back and forth on Messenger for a bit, and she thanked me for continuing to keep Beverly out there because she feels like that nobody else is doing it, nobody else cares, that basically that we're the only ones making sure she stays out there. So I told her we would continue to do so.
I don't know if you know this or not, but do you know if there's ever been any kind of, like, I guess, do they have anybody, and obviously they probably wouldn't go public with it and we wouldn't say a name, but do you know if they have like anybody that they think it could be, they just don't have a way to prove it? Or
I have never heard anything along those lines. I wish that they would, that's another thing about the Salina cases, that I keep pushing them out there, because I never see anything in the media as far as updates or calls for information or anything like that anywhere. I don't see it in the media. I don't see it on Salina Police Departments. The most recent one, and we've covered his case before, was Tom Young, which was an unsolved homicide from back in the 70s. And since that one, I haven't seen any other calls for any other information for any other case as of right now. I mean, that could change, and I hope it does. I mean, I'm not knocking our police department by any stretch. I'm very supportive of law enforcement. I would just like to see more action taken on some of these local cases to get them cleared. It'd be nice.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that
Ravens
convenience store you said was pretty heavily populated back in 2008. There's people going in and out quite a bit.
Well, like I said, the convenience store on that corner, there's car wash stalls to the immediate east of the store itself, and it kind of impedes your view of her house if you're over on the convenience store side. But it still doesn't stop anybody from going up and down Iron to see the house because it's right there. I drive by it when I go over and pay my storage bill because I go down Iron and cut down Ohio over to Elm, and Elm down to where I drop my bill off, and then turn around and go back the opposite direction to go back home. So I mean, it's just right there. And I used to have a picture, and I can't find it, that I took of when it happened, of a police car sitting in the driveway with the crime scene tape up, and there was snow on the ground because it was pretty cold. It was pretty snowy. It was January, so of course it was cold. And I wish I could find that darn picture, but I don't know where it went. But I had it somewhere.
This next case we talked about last week, and I know in my chat room it sparked a search for a couple of people who used to live in the Garden City area back in the 90s, and they've been it's like 3 people. They've been calling all kinds of old friends that were around back then, and I don't know. It's weird. Like, I'm glad it happens anytime a case gets, where people feel something about it. But Rachel Pratt's one of those cases. Anytime anybody hears about it, they just get very interested and want to help jump in, and especially anybody that was around back then, trying to find out. It's just wild that 30 years later, people that didn't even know her are just like enamored with like, hey, let's figure this out.
Right. I mean, it's been, like, say, 30 years. It's been a long time. I mean, somebody's got to know something that could unlock this case. But we'll talk about it here. It's Rachel Geraldine Pratt, missing from Garden City, Kansas, on January 16th, 1995. She was 15 when she went missing. She's now 45, so 30 years. 5'7", 125 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Rachel was last seen watching a movie inside her family's residence in Garden City, Kansas, at approximately 1 o'clock in the morning on January 16th, 1995. She did disappear under suspicious circumstances and has never been heard from again. Rachel left all of her clothing and personal belongings at her home except for her coat. 5 days after her disappearance, some girls claimed to have seen her talking on a payphone with her 18-year-old boyfriend. They say she left the phone with her boyfriend after asking the girls for a ride, then went into Dylan's grocery store. This sighting has not been confirmed, and her boyfriend denies having been with her after she vanished. Rachel was supposed to be a witness against her boyfriend, who was being prosecuted for unlawful sexual relations with her. Because Rachel disappeared before she could testify, the charges were dropped. They started dating when Rachel was a 14-year-old high school freshman and her boyfriend a senior. He was her first boyfriend. Rachel's mother found out that she was pregnant after Rachel was arrested for attempting to shoplift a home pregnancy test from Walmart. She gave her statement to the police at that time. There is no evidence to indicate that Rachel has given birth. There's no record of her receiving a driver's license, a copy of her birth certificate, or a social security card. She may have remained in the Garden City area after her disappearance. There have been no sightings of her in many years, but authorities remain hopeful that she is still alive. Rachel has 7 siblings. Her mother still lives at that same address and has kept the same phone number. If you have any information regarding Rachel's disappearance or you know her whereabouts, please call the Garden City Police Department at 620-276-1300, or you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 620-275-7807, or text your tip to Garden City Police, which text GC tip and your tip to tip 411, which is 847-411, and see if we can't help get Rachel located and back to her family.
Ricky, I'm going to ask you an ethical question, and you don't have an answer. I don't have daughters. You have 2. I know that when you see 15 and 18, like, I would never tell an 18-year-old to try to have feelings for a 15-year-old. But at the same time, when you say freshman and senior, I'm from a small enough town that to realize that, like, freshmen date seniors all the time. Again, not suggestion any freshman get pregnant by a senior or date, but I'm just saying,
Right.
what are your thoughts on, like she was a freshman, he was a senior. Obviously, teen pregnancy is a huge problem. You want to avoid that at all costs, just so people can have a
Right.
life. And, but at the end of the day, do you feel like, because I feel like charges getting pressed, her having to appear in court, just really muddied an already murky situation. What are your thoughts? You have daughters, your daughter shows up, she's a freshman, and she says she's dating a senior. I mean, is it the end of the world? Or because I don't have daughters, I don't know what that's like.
I know when they were in high school, when they get to be 14, 15, and even 16, I would warn them, you don't want to mess with anybody that's 18 or older, especially before you're 16, because that would be considered statutory rape on his part, and he would end up in jail and stuff like that. And I warned them about both of them about that repeatedly, and they heeded my warnings. They never did and try to do anything like that. So I think we got lucky there, but now they're both adults, so
And
can't
then
do
you'll
much
have a
now.
lot of freshmen that are like 14, so like it is it's a dangerous situation. It sounds just like you're just a freshman and a senior dating, but it's kind of against the law.
Yeah, and Raven's saying in my day kids did it, but my parents would never allowed it. True.
I'm not even, this girl ended up marrying this guy, but I had a girl in my class we were 17, and she like went to the school board to ask that her 22-year-old boyfriend could take her to prom, and they let him take her, which is, they ended up getting married and having kids and stuff. So like, I don't know what the big, but it is kind of, it's a thing that'll make people look funny if you have an adult dating a kid,
And Helen's asking the name of the boyfriend. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I know I've seen it in the comments on her flyer on the page, so I know it's there.
Things aren't like they used to be, and kids will do what they. Yep.
Yeah, that's very true. I have to agree with her 100%. That's actually my ex right there. My girl's mom.
She's like, I helped Ricky through that situation. We
Yeah, it was challenging. I'm sure
understand, the boyfriend's like not on the run. This was 30 years ago. I bet you that boyfriend, especially if he had nothing to do with it, he probably hates any time this comes up, because it's an awful thing,
sure.
But yeah, definitely, you can look into the Rachel Pratt case deeper. You can just go Google Rachel Geraldine Pratt, Garden City, Kansas. One thing, there was the same night she went missing, there was a mattress that had fire in their basement. That's in a police report that I've read. I don't think it has anything to do with it, but there was a mattress that was burned in the basement of her house the same night she went missing. Again, I don't think it has anything to do with, it's just, that's like one of the pieces of information I was able to come up with and verify that actually did happen. But yeah, very interesting case for sure. We're going to talk about Darren Walker. And then don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking about Kathryn Adam here in just about 3 or 4 minutes, and Ricky's going to do a bit of a deep dive. So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
Yep. This is Darren Walker. He's Mitchell from Wichita, Kansas since May 20th, 2021. He's 53 when he was missing. He's now 57. He's 5'11", 175 pounds, blonde, gray hair, and blue eyes. Last seen in the area of Central and Waco in Wichita. In the past, he frequented the area of Pawnee and Meridian, also in Wichita. Darren had been recently released from hospital for cancer treatment, which has led to the use of a colostomy bag. He needs continual assistance and medical supplies to treat his recent surgery, and is missing under circumstances not conforming to his normal routine or habits. His family is very worried about him. Again, when he went missing, he was 53. He's now 57. He's 5'11", 175 pounds. His blonde and gray hair that's balding on top and blue eyes. He has a tiger tattoo on his upper arm. If you have any information regarding Darren's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, please call 911 immediately, or call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-263-6011, or you can call, I'm assuming he's still on the case, Detective Donnie Moore at 316-268-4114, or Julie at 316-648-4894. And his family is offering a $1,000 reward for information leading to his safe return. So let's see what we can do to help make that happen. And again, I spoke with one of his family members, and I actually got that picture on the far right-hand side there from that family member. So again, trying to help another family out here, folks. So let's see what we can do to help bring him home.
That's scary, man. So I used to be like a CNA in my early 20s, and I had a patient with a colostomy bag. And you have, like, say you put a fresh one on. you have like 2 days before you got to redo. You don't. It's not like they're just gonna sit there and just. It's not like colostomy bags aren't built to hold that kind of stuff for going on 3.5, 4 years here. Like this guy was in trouble day 3, day 4,
Yeah.
not having somebody there to remedy that situation. That's a very serious situation.
Yeah. And Helen's saying last she knew he was homeless. And that
See,
kind
that
of goes with the statement in the past he frequented the area of Pawnee and Meridian and also Central and Waco. So it sounds like that might be, yeah. Looks like a guy used to work for my ex at the carnival named Mike.
It's like Rock Chalk's in my neck of the woods for a week.
Says she's mostly in Wichita, but mostly Boise City, Oklahoma. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Boise City is like 40 minutes. That's where on the weekends Elkhart shuts down around 10 o'clock every night. There's nothing open after 10. So if you go 40 miles south to Boise City, they have a Love's gas station that's 24 hours, and they have a Subway in there that's open till midnight. And they have a bunch of subs they make and just put like in a cooler for people to get. So I go to Boise City quite a bit to get food in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it sounds like Elkhart's one of them proverbial small towns where they roll the sidewalks up at 10.
Oh yeah, it's done. It's over, man. I remember when that song like 3 or 4 years ago came out that was controversial. That Try That in a Small Town song.
Oh, yeah.
I made a meme that was like getting food after 10 p.m. Try that in a small town. It's not gonna happen, man.
Right. All right. I'm going to really cover this one because I watched a podcast that trying to think of the name. Trace Evidence Podcast they did a really deep dive. They did a whole hour-long show devoted to Kathryn, and I learned a couple things that I'll get into when I cover her case here. And this is Kathryn Adam, missing from Salina, Kansas, since April 29th of 1993. Was 35 when she went missing. She's now 66, and I believe, if I remember my information correctly, she will be 67 tomorrow. I believe. 5'4", 120 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. She was last seen at 4:30 in the morning on April 29th, 1993, at the Quick Shop convenience store in the 1700 block of West Crawford Street in Salina. She drove a white full-size Ford van, which she has legs written on the sides in blue lettering. Actually, it's a blue field. Part of the logo is white, part of it's dark blue. As you can see there on the flyer there. Her van turned up abandoned at 5:45 p.m. the day after she disappeared at Russell's Restaurant in the 600 block of West Point Boulevard. The restaurant was closed for remodeling at that time. The blood was spattered along the bottom part of the van, and it had quite a bit of blood on the inside of it. A large amount of blood was also found at the storage unit where she picked up her stock every morning. There was no sign of her at either place, and she's never been heard from again. Police speculate someone attacked Kathryn when she went inside the storage unit. It appeared they interrupted her in the process of loading the merchandise in her van, leaving the door of the unit open. Kathryn was separated from her husband at the time of her disappearance, and they did have a teenage daughter together. Her case remains unsolved, and foul play is suspected. And before I get into the contact information here, I'm going to show you guys some pictures here. This was the Quick Shop that she disappeared from back in 1993. That's what it looked like. Very small little station, 4 pumps. That was it. You could only get in 2 ways to the station. You can see the drive there on the left-hand side, and there was a small drive over on the right-hand end of the pumps there where you could get in on that side too, and that was it. It was a very small station. This is kind of what it looks like now. Same location, but this is what it looks like now. They've expanded the pumps out. They pushed the store back further off the street, made it a whole lot bigger. It's like a super Quick Shop kind of thing. It's even got a Zabaro's Pizza in there. But that's what it looks like now. But back then, this is what it looked like. And from there, she left and she went to her storage facility, this is the storage facility here. Back then, it was known as Triplet Storage. It's citywide self-storage now. And this is another angle of the storage unit, looking at it from this first shot was looking at it from the north side. This one's looking at it more from like the northwest. And the far right-hand picture where that sign is where the entrance going in is right there. There is a gate you have to have a code for and everything back in there and stuff like that. And I'm sure if you look at the buildings at this angle on the corners toward the front, it looks like they have little cameras mounted up on the top corners. I don't know if there's cameras or lights. I'm not sure which. But I'm sure they have cameras in there now. But back then, no such thing. Then the next day, they found her van here. This is Russell's Restaurant right behind. It's actually right behind. It used to be called Amico. It was a truck stop called Amico. It's now called 24/7. And that, I mean, it literally sits right behind it. The fuel lanes are just kind of off to the right of the restaurant, kind of the right and around the corner from the restaurant there. So, I mean, that restaurant would be visible from the diesel lanes. Not to mention there's parking over on the west side of the store. So you'd be able to see Russell's completely from that truck stop, which kind of blows my mind. And I'm going to kind of show you this here too. There's a map right here. And this kind of gives you an idea of the path that she traveled that morning. Up at the top right corner, it says 240 West Iron Avenue with that little white dot. That's where her and her daughter lived at that time. And of course, they went down 9th Street, then on to West Crawford. And the quick shop said at 1727 West Crawford, right there toward the left center part of the screen. And then the storage unit, you'd follow that blue line all the way down to the bottom of the map to that white dot where it says 2499 and with a hyphen 2441 South Centennial. And to the right of that blue dot or that little white dot is the storage units right there. And then Russell's, you'd go back up that blue line all the way back up to where Quick Shop is, take that little left turn, a little right turn, and where that red dot is, that's Russell's. So that's she went to Quick Shop, drove straight down to the storage unit. The van was found the next day at Russell's, all right there in close proximity. The only thing is, it's been said that from the time she gassed that van up to the time it was found, it was driven 60 miles. So they did search a 30-mile radius around Salina looking for her and never have found any kind of trace of her or what she was wearing or anything like that. And then this is a newspaper article that I ran across. I did some researching through the newspaper archives on the public library website last night. And the one thing that I noticed, and I heard it in the podcast, and I wanted to verify that, and in this article at the bottom, it says officers Tuesday found several keys that they believe may have belonged to Kathryn, but they would not say where the keys were located. All they said they were found. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. And then another tip that they had that came in was the van. Somebody called in and said they saw her van out on an intersection of Burma Road, and I can't remember the crossroad now. I'd have to go back and look for it. And they went out and searched that area, all around that area, and they didn't find anything out that way either. So that was one tip that they did find, or that they got, that they went out and searched and didn't find anything. But it's just been a bizarre case. I mean, so I really did a deep dive on it yesterday. I watched that podcast like 3 times in a row, just listening for different things and that I might have missed before. And it's just a very perplexing case. Her and her husband were separated at the time. And after she disappeared, their teenage daughter, she was in foster care. They had a hearing set up for the daughter and her father. And they went to court to establish where she would be living. And they asked her if she wanted to live with her father. And she said no. And they asked her father if he wanted her to come live with him, and he basically sat in his chair with his head down, not making eye contact with anybody, and said, no, I can't take care of her. So she was placed in another foster home that was a better fit for her, and has since, of course, she's an adult now, and she doesn't even live in Kansas anymore. So
that seems sketchy. That, like, I don't know. I didn't really get along with my stepdad, but if my mom would have been murdered, I wouldn't have just left my dad's house. I'd have been like, they'd have been like, "Do you want to go home with your stepdad?" I'd be like, "No, but I'm going to." You know what I mean? Like, he's my stepdad. One thing I'm curious about is it was in the '93. When I was in North Carolina, I've always been in bands and stuff, and it was really hard to find places to practice in North Carolina. So what we would do is we would rent storage units that were climate controlled, and they were basically like, nobody's here very long. If you see people come up and they're opening their units and they're going to be in there for a while, ask them if it's okay if you're loud. But if nobody's there, you can play your music. But every one I ever went into, and this was back in the early 2000s, you had to have a code to get into those places. My thinking is like, just look at who accessed the code the morning she was killed. I mean, unless there wasn't a code, but to me, like, a storage unit, even in the 90s, would have some type of, like, that's the whole selling point of a storage unit usually is that, hey, we'll keep track of your crap and we'll put it behind this locked gate. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm trying to remember because a buddy of mine around that time had a storage unit up north on the north end of town. And I'm trying to remember how he had to access that when we would go there because I would make trips out there with him so he could take stuff out or bring stuff back or whatever. And I'm trying to remember how he used to have to access that. And for the life of me, I can't remember. There might have been a code, there might not have been. I don't remember. But let's see, Queenie says, man, I remember this so well. I remember thinking she's only 5 years older than me. I had 2 elementary age children, taught school at Sunset. It's very close to all those places mentioned. Could not imagine it. Yeah, definitely. They had an incident over by Sunset School yesterday where they had to lock the school down because they had a guy barricading himself in the house after a domestic situation, and he pointed guns at the officers, so they shot him. Apparently non-life threatening, so he's going to be okay, but he's going to be charged with quite a few things. But yeah. Getting back to Kathryn, and this was on the 20th anniversary of her disappearance, so it would have been 2013. They did a big piece on the Salina Journal, the local paper, when it was still local. And this was the cover right here of that deal. And that's me holding her flyer up there. So, yeah, I actually was part of the 20th anniversary piece for her case back then, which I thought was kind of cool at the time. And they did quite an extensive cover, as you can see on the front, all that whole left-hand side, 2 more pages on the inside. It's got some more sections to it. And there was an interview with her daughter. The only interview she's done the whole time that her mom's been missing. That's the one interview she's done.
My question is this: at what point? Because you have a lot of flyers that can fit in this category.
Yeah.
Like, not to be crass, but you should have unsolved homicide. Obviously, she's never been found, but they said they found enough blood evidence that they don't think there's any way she survived.
Right, and they do consider it a homicide. Yes.
So, like, I guess, like, when does it change from a missing person to? Well, I guess an unsolved homicide, you would still need to have a body, probably, right?
Right. I mean, I could redo that heading a little bit at the very top and do missing / unsolved homicide because I mean, she's still missing and they're classifying it as a homicide. So I mean, you could go either way.
Yeah.
Man,
why do you think it is that, like, if the police pretty much know somebody's deceased, they still don't just come out and say it? Like, why do you think that the police won't just come out and say there's enough blood for them to be like, okay, nobody survived this? Why would they not just go run and tell the world?
I mean, that's pretty much what they've done with her case. Has said, hey, there's, we feel like that there is enough blood that nobody could have survived that. They've actually come out and said that. So with her case, they have. Other cases,
did they say that right away though, or?
Yeah, it took them a little while, but they did finally admit that, hey, there was enough blood. We don't think she survived. And they did say, and one thing I read, that there were bullet fragments found out there at the storage facility too. So they didn't say what caliber or anything, just bullet fragments. So I don't know. I have no clue. Of course, first person.
I'm not a detective, but to me, it sounds like a crime of passion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like somebody was upset with Kathryn Adam.
Yeah. One of the things I was really thinking about was, why did they leave the van at Russell's restaurant outside of the fact that it was closed for remodeling? Did they have a vehicle parked there to transfer to once they parked the van there? Did they have it parked over at the truck stop next door where they just walked over the truck stop, jumped in, drove away? Were they a truck driver? I mean, why did they choose Russell's other than the fact that it was closed to leave her van there? Did they want that van to be found? I mean, the guy that did the Trace Evidence podcast kind of brought up, did they park it there because maybe they were feeling a little guilt or remorse for doing it and they wanted it to be found? I mean, that's always a possibility too. I mean, there's so many different angles you could look at with that, but that was something I was really thinking about last night, was why Russell's? I mean, it was closed for renovations, but if he left the van there, he had to have another way to get away from there. So he either had to have a vehicle parked at Russell's or the truck stop next door or the hotel down the street from Russell's to the north a little bit, or he just walked off. I mean, it's hard to say. Or he could have been a truck driver. I mean, it's hard to say.
To answer Helen's question, Ricky does Kansas missing unsolved. He also has Missouri missing unsolved, but he will pretty much make a case for anybody that's missing.
Yeah. You'll notice on the page, this last few days, I haven't had very many cases to work on for Kansas, so I've done several out of state, mostly Missouri, but a few other ones outside of Kansas, and a couple of those we're going to touch on here after a bit. But I do want to finish off Kathryn's flyer real quick by saying, if you have any information on her disappearance, any at all, Call Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210 or Crime Stoppers Anonymously at 785-825-8477 or text SA Tips to Crimes, which is 274-637, or go to www.pd.salina.org. There's a Crime Stoppers link you can click to submit a tip that way, or call the KBI at 785-296-4017 or the 1-800-572-7463 and see what we can do to get her found and back home to her family. I know her daughter, and so she wants this resolved. She wants her mom found so she can have some resolution to this thing. I know they did erect I'm not sure which cemetery, but they did erect a headstone for Kathryn. She's not there, obviously, but it's just somewhere where they can go to grieve and remember her for right now. But I'm sure they would like to have her found so they could actually put her there. So,
yeah.
I mean, let's see what we can do to help make that happen.
All right, you're watching Kansas Missing and Unsolved. We'll be right back after this.
Part 2. Endangered Runaways, Young Lives at Risk, Stories that Demand Attention, and a Race Against Time. Together we can make a difference.
I was seeing somebody asking, Connie was asking, why did they not? I don't know if they may have fingerprinted the steering wheel. I don't know. They never have come out with that information, whether they fingerprinted the door handles, the steering wheel, the seats. I mean, the door handles on the back of the van where he obviously had to put her in and took her out, I guess. But I mean, they haven't said what all they've done. That's one thing that, as much as I support law enforcement, Salina Police Department, they tend to be a less is more type of law enforcement agency. They don't like to put out a lot at all. And I understand it from the view of not wanting to jeopardize a case. I do. But I also know that investigators that have solved cases have done so by putting information out, because you can't get information if you don't give information. So I'm sure there's other things that they could put out there that wouldn't jeopardize the case, I would think. I don't know that to be true because I've never seen the files. I don't know what's in the files. They would never probably ever show me the files. So, but I would like to think there would be something else that they could put out there that would help. I really do. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens in the future, I guess. But getting on to the next one here. This is Irma Lemus, missing from Wichita, Kansas since December 6, 2022. 16 when she was missing. She's now 18, 5'3", 230 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. That's really all I have on her. I wished I had more. If anybody has any information regarding Irma's disappearance, her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9254 or 316-660-9456 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. And see what we can do to help get her found and back to where she needs to be. I do know she had some prior disappearances before this, but was found. So this time I don't know what's different, but let's see if we can get her found and back to where she needs to be.
Have you heard of this case? Helen said someone talk about baby Vincent more.
Yeah, I've got a flyer on the page for him. That is a bizarre case too. There's a lot of he said, she said in that case. As far as, mom's saying dad was the last one that had baby Vincent, and he said no, mom did, and this and that. And so, I mean, we'll have to cover his case sometime again and get into that a little bit because it's it's a case.
It'd be interesting to look at how many missing or unsolved are state's custody children. That's
quite a bit. I'm not sure how many are total, but I know I've done flyers for quite a few and some repeaters. And so, yeah, it's been interesting to say the least over the last 13 years.
Yeah.
This is Natasha Kerr, missing from Wichita, Kansas since January 23rd, 2025. 16, 5'3", 110 pounds, red or auburn hair, green or hazel eyes. She was last seen on Thursday, January 23rd in Wichita. Believes she may stay in the local Wichita area, or she may try to come up here to Salina. Again, she's 16, she's 5'3", weighs 110 pounds, has dyed red or auburn hair, green or hazel eyes. She does wear clear framed eyeglasses, which would be the frames on the left-hand picture. She does have two tattoos. She does have tattoos on her left leg and chest. Her left nostril and ears are pierced. If you have any information regarding Natasha's disappearance or you know her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9254 or 316-660-9456 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get Natasha located and back to where she needs to be. Thought that was an interesting way to spell Natasha too, with that U in there. I've never seen that before.
Kind of cool, man. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. And this is one that I brought back into the show because she still hasn't been found yet. We've covered her before, but I figured we'd do it again tonight just because just haven't been able to find her. But this is Precious Unique Baskew. She's actually the granddaughter of a fellow missing persons advocate over in Missouri, and she's been missing from Wichita, Kansas since January 2nd, 2025. She's 17, 5'5", 105 pounds. Brown hair that was last known to be dyed pink and blue eyes. She does suffer from a medical condition, as reportedly possibly pregnant, making it urgent to find her soon and safely. And she's 17, 5'5", 105 pounds, brown hair that was last known to be dyed pink and blue eyes. She has nostril piercings on the both left and right side of her nose. If you have any information regarding Precious's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call 911 immediately or call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9254 or 316-660-9456 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can get Precious located and back to where she needs to be.
166 juveniles missing, 371 adults missing total in Kansas right now. And real quick, just to show you that not all news is bad news, here is just a bunch of kids that are home safe tonight. They're home, and there's actually one in here. Let me keep looking here. A lot of kids that some adults too, but a lot of people that got to go home safe.
Yeah.
These flyers do work. These people do get to go home a lot of times. Not always, but for the most part, Ricky's able to locate safe. You're right, located safe on a lot of these flyers, and,
which I like doing.
Yeah, it's the best part of his job. Sadly, though, we did have one located deceased. That was in Grove, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That was just was that information just released recently, or because I just pulled
today? It was actually today. There was a press release done today on that one there, and I can read it for you real quick. I have it here. Aubrey is actually a trans female, so male converting to female.
Wow.
And the release, my computer will pull it up. It's from the Quapaw Nation, I hope I said that right, Marshal Service in Miami, Oklahoma. It says for immediate release on February 5th, 2025, Quapaw Nation Marshal Service media alert. On January 31st, 2025, the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service responded to a call regarding the discovery of human remains located near South 565 Road and East 30 Road, north of Commerce in rural Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Forensic anthropologists with the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office were called and responded to the scene, where they searched the area and collected the remains. The remains were taken to the Medical Examiner's Office for further examination and identification. The preliminary investigation indicated the remains were that of a male of Native American or Hispanic descent. Due to the condition of the remains, they appeared to have been at the location for an undetermined period of time. On February 5th, 2025, the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the identity of the decedent to be Aubrey Austin Dameron, an enrolled member of the Cherokee Nation. Aubrey was last seen during the early morning hours of March 9th, 2019, as she was leaving her mother's residence in the Grove area on foot, dressed in black, leaving her purse at the residence with plans to meet someone. Since March 2019, numerous interviews have been conducted and leads followed up on by the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, Cherokee Nation Marshal Service, BIA Missing and Murdered Unit, and the FBI. Aubrey's family has been notified of the identification of their loved one. We extend our sincere condolences to Aubrey's family and friends as the past 6 long years of searching for Aubrey have come to an end and the investigation into Aubrey's death continues. If you have information related to the disappearance of Aubrey Dameron, please contact the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service at 918-238-3137 or Central Dispatch at 918-542-5585. The investigation into Aubrey's death is being led by the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service Investigative Division in close collaboration with the Cherokee Nation Marshal Service, BIA, Missing and Murder Unit, and the FBI. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Rock
Pretty
is
sad
asking
one.
if you know Annette. Ricky and Annette go way back. They've been on. She's interviewed him. She has had him
Yeah,
on her show.
Yep, she's been on here. I've been interviewed by her, and we interviewed her. So, yeah.
I've been in the same studio with Annette a few times on this show, but I don't think she knows me. I've never talked to her outside of in this studio. But
Yeah,
she's great, and she did wonderful stuff for the state of Kansas when she was working for the big network. I don't know what is she doing now.
She is actually getting ready to gear up on do her own podcast. And let's see if I can find the name of it here, because I've been reading about it, and she's getting ready to launch it. Let me see here. Let me pull up her Facebook here, and I can probably find it. Just waiting on it to come up here. I think I got too many windows open. Let's see if I can find it here. Let me close some of these other darn tabs, and maybe it'll help speed things up a little bit here. I have a bad habit of keeping too many tabs on my computer open. Very bad. Let's see. I know she's getting ready to do her own missing persons podcast here pretty soon. And I just wished I could find the name. Oh, here it is. It's called Help Bring Them Home, I believe. Is what it's going to be called, I believe. I might be wrong. I know she's working on it. I'm not sure when it's going to actually be launched, but it's coming.
Close some tabs, man. Your computer's going to.
Yeah, over the years since her and I have become acquainted, we share cases. Do I know?
I said close some tabs because you're starting to freeze up.
I did. I closed a bunch of them. I only got like 3 open now.
She's done some wonderful things for the state of Kansas in the missing persons department. She's a mighty voice for sure.
Yeah. She comments on my flyers a lot. There was one night somebody asked a question, and I didn't see it until after she responded to the comment, and I thanked her for that. And she said, "You're welcome, Kansas Missing and Unsolved. I got your back."
That's awesome, dude.
I was like, okay.
Back to that baby Vincent thing. She said she had the baby. She said she had the baby. PI said the mom was the last to have him. And she said she had the baby scenario. She was the last to have the baby.
See, that's what I was hearing too. And somebody way back in the day sent me screenshots of mom's online escort activity, her escort ads. So she was doing some online escorting between Wichita. She was doing some in Wichita and some in Chicago. So, yeah. Like I said, it's an interesting case.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's awesome. I like her too. She does phenomenal work. When she's not with Cake News anymore, though, I don't know the circumstances behind it, and she seems to think it may have been a cost-cutting thing, but they let her go. She is starting up with another station here pretty soon. She actually, so we'll be seeing her again on TV pretty soon. She's not with Cake. So hopefully we'll see her again soon.
Yeah. Well, let's see one more segment. We'll be right back after this.
Part 3. Out-of-state cases. Beyond Kansas borders, stories of the lost and the unsolved remind us that every missing voice deserves to be heard.
Okay, this one is Elizabeth Stone. Or Alexis Elizabeth Stone, excuse me. Missing from Springfield, Missouri since January 12, 2025. She's 15, 5'3", 111 pounds, brown hair that was last known to be dyed black and hazel eyes. She was last seen wearing black pajama pants and a red coat. She does go by the name Lexi. If you have any information regarding Alexis's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Springfield, Missouri Police Department at 417-864-1810 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or 866-362-6422 and see if we can help get Alexis located and back to where she needs to be. And here's one unsolved homicide. We're going to reach clear down into Texas to do. We've talked about her a few times, so how did I manage to miss pulling up her flyer? I thought I did, and I guess I didn't, but I'm pulling it up right now, so hang tight. Here we go. Cynthia Renee Gonzalez. This was down in Arlington, Texas on September 17, 1991. Cynthia Renee Gonzalez was reported missing to the Arlington, Texas Police Department on September 22nd, 1991. Cynthia's body was discovered in a creek bed off County Road 313 in Johnson County, Texas. It was later determined that Cynthia died from multiple gunshot wounds. Cynthia was reportedly at her apartment with her boyfriend when her husband stopped by to deliver their daughter for a weekend visit. Sometimes later, she left for an appointment without her customary bodyguard, and she was never seen again. Serial killer Kenneth Allen McDuff was looked at in connection with Cynthia's death. Jim Ford, longtime Arlington police officer and renowned homicide investigator, had looked at McDuff in connection with Cynthia's case for going on 18 years. He was never able to make a match or a mismatch. McDuff was believed to have abducted a victim from a car wash in Austin, Texas. Cynthia's car, a two-seat Pontiac Fiero, was seen parked at a car wash in Arlington the day she disappeared. There were similarities in the Austin case and Cynthia's case. He kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and killed his victim at a car wash in Austin. He dumped the bodies of several of his victims in rural areas. He killed several victims by shooting them. Investigators could not place McDuff in the Arlington area and could not determine whether he was out on the streets at that time, but could not find him as being incarcerated at that time either. Other persons of interest have come up and have been cleared as well. McDuff has since been ruled out by DNA testing. If you have any information regarding Cynthia's death, please contact Detective Stafford at 817-459-5772. If you wish to remain anonymous and possibly receive a reward of $1,250, please call the Toronto County, Texas Crime Stoppers at 817-469-8477 and see if we can help get some justice for Cynthia and her family.
I was just thinking, man, like DNA test is pretty much like foolproof, but then it also falls into, did the people that administer the test, were they telling the truth, you know? Were they paid off, you know? Because all it takes is somebody to lie, you know?
I don't know if it's Abert or Herbert, and he's asking, didn't Derek used to have red glasses? He looks familiar. He used to, yes.
I've been telling everybody I'm out running some warrants right now, so I'm changing up my look.
All right. This is Elizabeth Rochelle Hammond, and we're going to jump up there to Colorado. She is missing from Moscow, Colorado since August 15, 2019. She was 30 when she went missing. She's now 35. 5'6", 120 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. She was last seen walking away from her Moscow, Colorado home. She left all of her belongings behind, including her phone, her identification, her car, computer, tools, and pet dog. She'd only been living in the area for about 3 weeks prior to her disappearance. She had previously lived in the Columbus, Ohio area. She may be homeless. Although police can find little evidence in her disappearance, her mother believes she did not leave of her own accord and may have been a human trafficking victim. She does suffer from bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and has been prescribed medication for her conditions, which she also left behind. Her nose is pierced. She has numerous tattoos, including the phrase "live like a lion" on her upper chest, a star behind her ear, a skull on the back of her wrist, stars on the inside of her forearm, a cat with a bong on her shoulder, and other tattoos, and some of them are down there at the bottom there. She was last known to be wearing a black tank top, khaki shorts, black Nike shoes, and she has a silver circular barbell in her nose. If you have any information regarding Rochelle's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Alamosa County, Colorado Sheriff's Office at 719-589-6608 and see if we can get Rochelle located and back to where she needs to be. I'm sure her mom would like to have her home. So let's see what we can do to make that happen. And there's a picture of the dunes of Moscow, Colorado. We didn't really knew they had dunes in Colorado at all.
I think we need to go to Colorado. Check out those dunes.
Yeah. Yep. That's some serious dunes.
Yeah.
And this one's Dana Bruce. We've covered her quite a bit as well. She is missing from Sedalia, Missouri since October 4th, 2008. She was 23 when she was missing. She's now 39. She is 5'2", 98 pounds, brown hair, green or hazel eyes. She was last seen at her children's babysitter's home in Sedalia. She left the children there earlier that day so she could go out for the evening. She returned at midnight and gave the babysitter more money and asked her to watch the children for the rest of the night. She was last seen at Malone's Bar on Main Street with the young man driving a late model red Ford F-150 truck earlier on the night of her disappearance. She left with the man at 11:30 p.m. Police have identified the man that Dana was with on the night that she'd vanished. He traveled to Atlanta, Georgia after her disappearance, and police questioned him about Dana after he was arrested there on unrelated charges of marijuana possession and driving on a suspended license. Authorities have not named him publicly, but they are calling him a person of interest in her case. He told his questioners that he and Dana parted ways after they left the bar, and he never saw her after that. She left all of her belongings behind, including her hairbrush and her toothbrush. She does not have credit cards, debit cards, checking accounts, cell phone, or a car. Again, at the time of her disappearance, she was 23. She'd now be 39. She's 5'2", weighs 98 pounds, has brown hair that was colored brown at the roots, black at the ends, with red highlights and green or hazel eyes. She last known to be wearing a black shirt with the word Rebel and silver lettering on the front and blue jeans. She has a tattoo of a teddy bear with wings and the name Dylan on her upper left arm. She is blind in her left eye. She has a 2-inch scar along her lower spine and a staple scar on her right shoulder. Her ears are pierced one time each. If you have any information regarding Dana's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Sedalia, Missouri Police Department at 660-827-7823 or 660-826-8100, or Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or 866-362-6422, or you can call Private Investigator Leslie at 910-427-0070 and see what we can do to help get Dana located and back home to her family.
It's been 5,969 days since she went missing.
Dang, it's a long time.
Yeah, it's not good. Especially if that's your mom or your sister, your friend.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about her every week, but we never met her, you know. It's people that actually hung out with her every day. That's got to be a long 5,000 days.
Yeah, it has. And I do have a couple updates on Madalena's case here when we cover her. She's missing from it's Madalena Kojikari, missing from Cornelius, North Carolina since November 26, 2022. Was 11 when she was missing. She's now 13. She's 4'10", 90 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Madalena was last seen on the surveillance video getting off her school bus on November 21st at 4:59 p.m. And that picture on the far right-hand side would be a shot from that video. Let's see here. This is the last time police have an independent confirmation of when she was last seen. Madalena was reported missing to her school on December 15th, 2022. Both Madalena's mother and her mother's husband were arrested for failure to report Madalena missing. Madalena's mother reportedly told detectives that her daughter did not have a phone and that a book bag with some of her clothes were missing. She also told the detective that Madalena did not have any friends or family that she would be with. Madalena was last seen wearing a white t-shirt and jacket, jeans, and pink, purple, and white Adidas shoes. The updates that I do have, mom has since been released from jail, and it's believed by law enforcement that she's already left the country. They're not exactly 100% sure, but they think she went back to her native Moldova. And my understanding is Moldova does not have an extradition treaty with the United States. The other little information that I have was apparently at some point, I guess police are believing that sex trafficking may be involved in this situation, because at some point, Madalena's mom had paid a priest in Moldova $4,000 at some point, and so I'm not sure what's going on with that. So they feel like there may be some sex trafficking involved with that situation. Apparently, Madalena's mom got a hold of a relative and asked about smuggling her and Madalena out in a hurry or something at some point. And so there's all kinds of stuff going on with that right now. But main thing is Madalena's still missing and nobody's saying anything. So If anybody has any information regarding Madalena's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Cornelius, North Carolina Police Department at 704-892-7773 or the North Mecklenburg Crime Stoppers at 704-896-7687. And there is a $25,000 reward being offered for information that leads to the arrest or conviction of the person or persons responsible for Madalena Kojikari's disappearance. And see what we can do to help keep that word spread out there that she is still missing and still needs to be found, and get her found and back, where she needs to be. That's a crazy case. Why have all of our comments disappeared from the thing over here?
They're not. I still see them.
I don't see them. I see nothing but a black screen over there.
You might be having issues. Rock Chalk says, hit that thumbs up for missing page for Alpha. The murder investigation is still going on. She's talking about Nancy Schaefer.
Okay, I'll have to look into that and see what we can do for her. And Ellen, you're very welcome. For some reason, I am not seeing those comments. Let me click off of them and click back on them and see if there they are. Okay. I clicked off of them back onto them. There they are. Okay, good deal. Okay. And this one is Tommy Randall Cook. He goes by Tommy. His name's Thomas. Missing from Pueblo, Colorado. So we're back up in Colorado again. Missing since August 14th, 2013. He was 25 when he was missing. He's now 37, 5'8", 185 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. He was last seen at his father's home on West Cookdale Drive near South Angus Avenue in Pueblo, Colorado. Thomas and his father had an altercation, and Thomas left, leaving his wallet and all forms of identification behind. It was reported he was heading back to the Wichita, Kansas area, possibly around Wellington, to be with his family and friends. His only way to get there would have been to hitchhike. Thomas never arrived in the Wichita area or returned back to his father's. Thomas has not contacted any family, friends, or logged into any of his regularly used accounts. Those closest to him are very concerned because this is out of character for Thomas. He had seemed depressed before his disappearance and is without his medications. He does have 2 children. His disappearance is out of character, and he would never go this long without contact. He does have a scar on his right eyebrow and a scar on his lip that extends to the right side of his nose. He was last known to be wearing a white T-shirt or a blue striped shirt with blue jeans and possibly a watch. If you have any information regarding Thomas's disappearance, you know his whereabouts, please call Detective John Burgos at 719-583-4730 or the Pueblo County, Colorado Sheriff's Office at 719-583-6125 and see if we can't help get Tommy located and back to his family where he needs to be. Ronnie says, have you tried hitting your CPU with a small sledgehammer? No, but some days I would love to. just saying. Okay. This one here, hang on a minute. This one here is another out of state that I did a flyer for, and I just recently updated it actually. So we're going to be talking about some stuff I added to it here. This is Bethany Leanne Markowski, missing since March 4th, 2001. Was 11 when she went missing. She'd now be 35. At the time she went missing, she was 4'8" to 5 foot, weighed between 95 and 100 pounds, brown hair, blue and green eyes. See, Bethany's parents, Larry and Johnny Joe Markowski, separated in January 2001. The couple split was reportedly bitter. Bethany resided with her mother in Nashville, Tennessee afterwards. She spent several days with her father at his home in Gleason, Tennessee in early March 2001. Bethany and Larry were scheduled to meet Johnny Joe at Waverly, Tennessee exit off Interstate 40 during the afternoon on March 4th, 2001. Bethany and Larry apparently spent part of the day in Little Rock, Arkansas, then drove back towards Tennessee. They stopped at Old Hickory Mall in Jackson, Tennessee at approximately 3:30 p.m. Larry told authorities that Bethany entered the shopping center alone while he slept in the vehicle. He woke approximately an hour later and searched for his daughter in the mall. He alerted law enforcement at 5:15 when he could not locate Bethany. She has never been heard from again. Now, they did say, I have read that law enforcement searched the security cameras in the mall and around the mall Did not find her on any video cameras within or outside of the mall anywhere. That she was not on any surveillance footage at all. Several witnesses saw Bethany in the company of a Caucasian female shortly after she disappeared. She was described as being approximately 42 to 44 years old, 5'4" to 5'5", and 185 pounds. Witnesses said that the woman had dark circles under her brown eyes and her blonde was clean but frizzy and damaged. She appeared to be unkempt, like she had not bathed, and her shoes were torn and incorrectly tied. The woman may have been suffering from a hangover. Authorities stated that the unidentified woman attempted to enroll Bethany in a southeastern Tennessee school in April 2001. A month after Bethany was reported missing, the woman was later observed boarding a bus with Bethany. Investigators believe they may have traveled to Moline, Illinois. Bethany was missing her top and bottom baby molars at the time of her 2001 disappearance. She bites her fingernails when she's nervous. Some agencies may spell Bethany's middle name with a uppercase L, lowercase e, uppercase A, and then the lowercase NNE. Her hair was styled shoulder length with bangs at the time of her disappearance. She has a mole on her left breast and freckles on her cheeks and nose. Bethany was last seen wearing a green t-shirt, blue or black jeans, and black slip-on shoes. If you have any information regarding Bethany's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Jackson, Tennessee Police Department at 731-425-8400, or the TBI at 800-824-3463, or the FBI at 901-747-4300. And I had to do a companion flyer, I guess you would call it, because I did find this AI age progression of Bethany, and it's based on the photo above it to the very far left. So that AI age progression is based on that particular photo. I also added a composite sketch of the woman that Bethany was last seen with as well on there, as I felt those needed to be put on there, and put the latest age progression from National Center for Missing and Exploited Children on there as well. Just want to do everything we can to help get Bethany found and back to where she needs to be. And hopefully we can do that. I would like to see that happen.
Yeah. 3 more flyers. Thanks everybody for hanging out. We'll be on here for about 5 or 10 more minutes, and we'll be back next week.
Okay.
I'll be 42 on Friday.
Oh, wow. And this is a concerning case here. This is Scott Stewart Chisholm, missing from Springfield, Missouri since January 18, 2025. He's 67, 6 foot tall, 175 pounds, gray hair that's balding, and brown eyes. He had given a car to a family member on January 17, 2025. The family member has since found a letter inside the car stating that Scott may be suicidal. He has a history of Parkinson's disease. He was last known to be driving a white 2012 Toyota Camry with Missouri license plate LG0K5T. And I have a picture of a similar vehicle down there at the bottom. He was last seen driving eastbound on Chestnut Expressway from Glenstone Avenue. And he's 67, 6 foot tall, 175 pounds, has gray or balding hair and brown eyes. It's not known what he was wearing when he went missing. If you have any information regarding Scott's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, or you see his car, please call 911 immediately or call the Springfield, Missouri Police Department at 417-862-7911, or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178, or 866-362-6422, or you can call your local law enforcement agency if you're seen outside that area there. So let's see what we can do to help get Scott located and back to where he needs to be.
One of my mods just sent me, you probably heard about an hour ago, 3 hours ago. I guess there's an Amber Alert for this 16-year-old girl in Wisconsin.
Okay.
This 40-year-old guy got her pregnant, I guess. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. That's crazy. Guys like that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have my own opinions, but
pretty wretched, man.
Yeah.
Earlier I was talking about freshmen and seniors. That's one thing, but freshmen and guys that are
almost your age.
AARP, that's a little, come on.
Right. And this one is Jeremiah Manetta. Is missing from Ponca City, Oklahoma. This is January 17th of this year. He's 22, 5'9", 150 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. He did recently move to Ponca City from Kansas City, Missouri. His bank account's not been touched, and his apartment showed no signs of a disturbance. His cell phone was found in someone else's possession, and his asthma inhaler was found on a stranger's porch. His family says that Jeremiah never leaves his inhaler behind. He always has it with him. And he's 22 years old, 5'9", 150 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. He does have facial hair, and he has a Playboy bunny tattoo on his shoulder blade. Last seen wearing a Kansas City Chiefs hoodie, jeans, and work boots. If you have any information regarding Jeremiah's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, call the Ponca City, Oklahoma Police Department at 580-767-0370, or you can call the anonymous tip line at 580-762-5100, or there's a website there, www.tipsubmit.com/webtips.aspx *agency ID equals 496 to fill out the tip sheet and send the information in that way. Or you can text PCPD plus your message to crimes, which is 274637 from your cell phone. If you want to contact Crime Stoppers by email, it's crimestoppers@poncacityoK.gov. Again, Crime Stoppers at poncacityoK.gov, and see if we can't help get Jeremiah located and get him back to his family, because I know they're worried sick about him.
That's your last flyer, buddy.
Cool. Okay.
I have one that I can read it because I didn't tell you to pull it, but I pulled it from your page the other day. This is just right here in Elkhart. A lot of the people that watch on my YouTube channel started watching me because of the missing moms case. This happened 5 or 6 miles away from where those ladies were slain. Ty Marquardt, July 27th, 1995, Elkhart, Kansas. Ty Marquardt recently had a falling out with friends he had made during his short time in Elkhart, Kansas. Ty had left on foot with intentions of walking back to Perryton, Texas. In the early morning hours of July 27th, 1995, Ty was struck and killed as he walked down the state highway 95 in Texas County, Oklahoma by an unknown vehicle. The official ruling was an accident. However, lead detective Chuck McInerney was certain that it was no accident. Ty's family also believes that this was no accident, as someone would remember hitting a person even in the dark. If you have information regarding Ty's death, please call the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation at 405-848-6724. And there was another case that you had covered at one point, Ricky. It was another kid in the Oklahoma. There was 3, I think, that we covered besides Ty, that there were kids in Oklahoma, and they were found on the side of the road hit. And like basically in Oklahoma, it might be more states, but in Oklahoma, there is like a situation where if you're hit by somebody, they don't know who did it. I think they kind of just close the case. Again, nothing against the police. Like they would, unless they go inspect every car on the planet. But to me, that's like, even though the police are awesome and they're doing everything they can, there's always going to be like little cracks that stuff can fall through. And I think that there's quite a few hit and run cases that, I feel like if you're a family member, you wish that there was a little bit more police work being done, because this is also just like, that Kathryn Adam and then Rachel Pratt, 30 years ago. Ty should be in his almost 50s. Ty should be a grandparent by now, by today's standards. Wow. So, like I feel like this kid was robbed from having his own life, having children, and now he's being robbed of, being there for his grandchildren. So if anybody out there has any information on the Ty Marquardt situation, call that number. 30 years is long enough. If there's something that suspicious happened and you know about it, say something. 30 years is too long for people to get away with it.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, I remember doing one other one for Oklahoma. I can't think of the guy's name, but basically similar situation. He was hit on a dark road.
Yeah.
And
and I think you had talked to his mom or something as the reason. I'll look into that because I think I have a folder that has all 4 of those cases. We could do like a segment in a few weeks about it. But yeah, that's, again, I don't think the cops are, they're doing the best they can, but if we can name 4 people that died, suspiciously, like almost like a hit and run, then that's a problem. Somebody should get some legislation going that says basically like, even if it's an accident, even if it's a hit and run, we should still try to find out who hit him on accident,
Yeah. Rockshock's asking, did you know Ty or his family?
So I was 12 in 1995. I had seen Ty around town. He hung out with a group of kids. They were all 18. We thought they were cool. I do know Ty's adopted. He has I've talked to a couple of Ty's siblings over the years. But from what I understand, both of his parents are now deceased. His adopted parents are both now deceased. And not a lot, I think me and Ricky are the only people talking about Ty Marquardt in 2025. But well, at least publicly. There's a lot of people that talk about it behind the scenes, but Yeah, it's it's I look at it like that. I saw it when I was a 12-year-old, so it was really scary. But yeah, now I just see it as Ty should be 48 years old, and he should maybe have some grandkids running around. He should be spoiling his grandkids right now, and he's not. He's in the ground, and
Yeah.
it's just that's a tragedy to me. A lot of people, you think about, I don't know, people are very selfish when they think about life and stuff, but all these people that we show that are missing, yeah, they got robbed of their life, but their family got robbed of watching them grow. And same thing with
Yeah.
all of Rachel Pratt. She was pregnant. She was pregnant 30 years ago, so her kid could be 29. She could be a grandma right now. That's being robbed
Yeah.
of a third life. Your life, your kid's life, and then she's being robbed of the third life. And that's really, really
Right.
tragic.
Excuse me. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, that's why we do this show, is keep these cases out there, keep people talking, let them know that we haven't forgot them, and that they shouldn't be forgotten, and help bring them home. And that's what we need to do. In Ty's case, try to get answers in his death, as with Kathryn Adam, as with Cynthia Gonzalez, with Jamie Hernandez. We've got to get some closure and some justice in those cases. So
I've been talking to, I have a bunch of interviews with people about Ty Marquardt over the last 10, 15 years, but it led me to OSBI. I talked to an agent there. She put me in charge of like her boss, which would have been like somebody that's like really high up at OSBI. I talked to them on the phone, and I asked them what was going on with Ty Marquardt. Their exact words were, "It's there's no investigation. It's a closed case. It was ruled an accidental hit and run." So then and maybe you can clear this up, Ricky. I was under the impression that because of the Freedom of Information Act, if a case is closed, then it's open record. So my next question immediately was, okay, sir, appreciate that. Now, since it's a closed case, can I look at the files? And he said, oh, that case is actually sealed. So I don't know what that means. Maybe it's because it's an accidental hit and run. Maybe it's a gray area. To me, it's weird if they're going to call it a closed case. To me, that should mean that it should be open for interpretation to the public. But that's what they told me. It's a closed case. They're not looking for anybody. There's no suspects. It's just a closed case. It's an accidental hit and run. It's an accident, and that those files are off limits to the public. That's all I've been able to gather on that. But I even look at it this way. Say something nefarious did happen.
Right. How old was he when he was hit?
Huh?
How old was he when he was hit?
18.
Okay, so it's not a juvenile case. I could see him sealing if it was a juvenile case, but I don't know. I don't see why they would seal up an accidental hit and run. That doesn't make much sense to me.
From what I heard, again, a lot of it is testimony from people, but I've heard that there wasn't much left of him when they found him.
Right.
So I think it would be hard, but there's obviously, it's just like, did you click on that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, yeah, it says, wish there was new info on the Adams that was missing from Benton, Kansas.
Adam Herman. Yeah, the foster family never reported him missing. They continued to collect the adoption money, or not the adoption, the foster money on him, and never reported him missing. I know they were jailed for a time. I don't know if they still are in jail, but I know they were jailed for a time for fraud, because they continued to collect money when he wasn't there, and they tried to say he ran away. And I haven't really heard any updates at all lately on his case either. It's been a pretty quiet one too. I'll have to see if I can't do something, get his flyer updated and get it on the show, and we'll cover his case too.
As far as that being sealed, I don't think to me, that doesn't make sense. If it's a closed case, it should be. But I will say this. I talked to them. What the detective told me is that the only way for a case like Ty or any of the other four that we were kind of alluding to earlier, the only way for cases like that to ever get reopened to where an investigator would even look at it is if like something groundbreaking happened, like somebody confessed or some type of physical evidence was found. But yeah, I just think it's weird that it's just a closed case. Like I spent the first 20 years of Ty's, because it all came to a head. I was doing a radio show in 2010, and somebody called into my show drunk and basically told me everything that happened, and they were talking about a homicide. It'll be Texas County, Rock.
Yeah.
I called. Okay, Ty Markar. I called again. It's been about 6 or 7 years since I've talked to 2018, 18 or 19. I talked to the OSBI, but I called Texas County. They have no record of it. I had to go all the way to OSBI for them to be like, oh yeah, we found it, and they said, and the detective I talked to is the one that said all the stuff that the flyer says. Highway Patrol, Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and Texas County PD wanted to call Ty Markart's case. Like, this is from the detective I talked to. They wanted to call Ty Markart's case an accidental hit and run the night they found him. And this is, I'm not going to speak ill of the dead, but I'll just say this to make it to make it known that I'm not just trying to do like a witch hunt here. I could see how a cop goes out to a crime scene like or a scene like that at 3 or 4 in the morning. Ty Markart was a kid that was intoxicated. He was 18 and he was walking down a very narrow highway in the middle of the night. Now, if there was a book called How to Get Yourself Killed, that would be in the first couple of it was a dumb thing for Ty Markart to do. So I could see why people would be like, this kid got drunk and tried to walk to his house, which was hours away by car, and he got himself killed by like a semi or something. I could see why people would just say this is an accident. But the OSBI detective told me that Chuck McInerney came down from OSBI and he was adamant that it was a homicide. And he spent like, I think, a month trying to prove it was a homicide. And then it was just like, okay, he was outvoted, he conceded, and it was basically said that it was a accidental hit and run, which in Oklahoma means that they just stopped working on it. Basically, that's how it happened from my perspective.
Right.
I heard more on that case for you. Yeah, he died in Texas County, a few miles from where the missing moms were found, Rock. So you know where Yarborough is, obviously. Rock was down here doing some investigative stuff for the So Ty Markart was found deceased, not very far. Like Yarborough would have been like a few miles after he was found deceased if you were headed towards Four Corners. 1995. Good luck finding anything. The only thing I ever found online was his tombstone. But I do have Rock message me. I'll send you I have a lot of phone calls on that one. I'll send it to you. But Ricky, is there anything? Oh, here we go. It says Kyle was last seen 254 and 143 East. His dad is Mars Norberger, a search group out of Texas, supposed to come help search for him. But the main organizer passed away at the end of last month. Her name was Nina. Yikes. That sucks.
Yeah. That's why I was just looking to find out if there's any information on that day, because that would have been I'm trying to think of his name. Tim. Oh boy, what's his name? Tim Miller.
Cozy's asking who found Ty. I don't. All I know is this: one of my investigators in 2019 called a hospital. I'm not going to give too much away here. Called a hospital and asked for medical records because he was trying to figure out if there was any medical records on Ty. And the person who answered said that it was the wrong hospital, it was the wrong state, because we called a Kansas hospital. We'll be vague here. And the person that answered the phone with medical records told my source that her husband was the one that found him. And she said that it was you could basically just tell it was a human because of the shirt. Basically, he had a shirt on. And then this is just what I heard from a source. I'm not saying this is true at all. But this is just what I heard from the lady who talked to my source. Also said that there was something tied around his hands and feet, which would totally obliterate any idea of an accidental hit and run. The last thing I ever said to the lead guy, like after I talked to my detective for like a year or two, she put me in contact with her boss. I called him. He was driving down the highway. I just said, look, just tell me this, yes or no. I was like, obviously, it's a sealed case. You're not going to give me anything. I said, did he have any kind of markings that would indicate he was tied from either his feet or hands? Long pause. The guy from OSBI says, I don't recall seeing anything like that. I'll go back to the office and check, and I'll call you and let you know. And I've never talked to them again. They never called me again. So who
well.
knows? And that was just something that some person told my source. Who knows if it was true or not? But when I asked him, he said, I don't think so, but I'll look and check and call you back. And I never heard from him again.
Right.
So who knows? Who knows? That's why when me and Norm were very excited when these missing moms, when there was arrests made within 14 days, because in these parts, arrests sometimes never happen, you know? So it's just like, wow, 14 days.
Mm.
Cool. Rock Chalk will be making the rounds tomorrow in the Kansas, Oklahoma Panhandle. Awesome. All right, Ricky. You know what to do to get us out of here. Unless there's anything else you want to cover.
Yeah, I think we pretty much touched everything. I hope everybody was kind of intrigued by the deep dive into Kathryn Adam a little bit. I kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of locations where they were, you know, in conjunction to where she was gassing up the van, where she picked up her merchandise, where the van was found, that kind of thing. Just kind of want to give you some visuals. It's a little different than just saying the names of the places. Kind of good to give a visual of where it's located, and then of course the map showing the location of everything and how close they were. But you know, it's just a really interesting case, and I really hope we can have some resolution to it at some point. You know,
the weirdest thing, just I know we're getting out of here, but to me with Kathryn Adam, the the hardest thing for me to kind of look at is that picture on the top left. I've told you this a billion times, but I once had a newscaster tell me I was a pretty perceptive kid, and he was right. But basically that top left picture, Ricky, explain where that's from.
That is a video surveillance photo of the last time she was seen was when she was at that quick shop that morning. I kind of cropped it down. I can show you the full photo. I have the full photo here. Let me pop it up real quick here. Let me load it. I gotta get it here. But I'll show you the full photo. It's better to look at the full thing so you can actually get a better idea here. And here it comes. Slowly. There it is. This is the full photo right here. You can see she's got her cup of coffee in her right hand, newspaper in her left hand. She's backing out the door to leave, and that's the last time she was ever seen right there. Leaving that quick shop that 4:30 that morning.
So to me, when I see this full picture, like I said, I'm a perceptive kid. So to me, this does not tell you what happened to her, where she's at, who's responsible. But to me, as somebody who knows that she's probably no longer living, just covering her case as long as we have, what I see here in body language is she's leaving a gas station that's like Ricky said, it's all right there where in her routine every day. I don't know Kathryn Adam from Adam. I've never met her. I don't know if she ever went to this gas station before this day, but I have a feeling that this gas station is a place that she went frequently in the early mornings. My thing is that she kind of knew, like, you wasn't like best friend or anything. I feel like she kind of knew the people that were in and out of there every day. Because just the way, like, if I was leaving a gas station and I didn't care about anybody behind me, I would just, even if my hands were full, I would use my forearm to push the door open. The fact that she turned around and she's opening the door with her back leads me to believe that she felt very, very, very comfortable with the people in that. Like, to me, it's almost like a beautiful picture in the sense that right there, I see a lady who is very, content in that moment. She's like, hey, she looks comfortable. Horrible things are awaiting her, 5 minutes from this right here. But in this moment, I see a lady who, like I said, we don't know if she's deceased, but she probably is. To me, I see a lady who is kind of like, I don't know. I'm very proud of her, and like she just looks like she was happy. Like she knew the people and I know I'm reading way too into this, but just to me, the fact that she's backing out would lead me to believe that she was looking at the people in there a little longer, just being like, hey, hope you all have a nice, like she was around people that she trusted,
Right. I agree with that. I mean, she's backing out the door, coffee and newspaper, probably saying, hey, see you later to whoever's there, and oblivious to the fact that this is going to be the last time she was ever in that store. She has no idea what's waiting for her out there at those storage facilities, 5 minutes or so later.
No.
And that's sad.
Yeah.
But that's the very last photo. And it's all, like I said, it's off a surveillance video camera, because Quick Shop back in 1993 did have security cameras. They were probably one of the few places that did.
And those are good
But-
cameras, dude. Those are better than some of the crap you see on stuff these days, you know.
I know. But that was from 1993, April 29th. So hopefully we can get some resolution. We can get somebody talking because they need to. I mean, somebody somewhere knows something, whether it's the culprit or maybe the culprit spoke to somebody and said, hey, I did this, What's this say? During the missing Kansas mom's case, there was also a young Hispanic male. What did that say? Coins. Deceased in a ditch along a farm road, shot in the back of the head, found kneeling. That almost sounds like an execution style.
Yeah. Send me some information about that, Ray.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, Sonia. Thank you for Rock Chalk for hanging out tonight. Her telling people to watch your stream is a good thing.
Oh, found not coins.
Seats.
Raven says found not coins. Male found deceased in a ditch along a farm road, shot in the back of the head, found kneeling. Yeah, that's oof. Yeah, we'll have to see if we can deep dive into that and see if they determine that was an accident.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed your Kathryn Adams deep dive, man. And
yeah. I just want to kind of give some people some ideas of these locations and the conjunction from one place to another. And if you're standing there at Russell's, or if you're standing at a quick shop, you can see the sign for the other from the other location. I mean, it's that close.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is look, and it's right there. I mean, it's that crazy, But yeah, I mean, the thing that just keeps going through my mind is why did they choose to leave the van there? I mean, was there a vehicle waiting? Whether it was theirs or somebody else's? Were they a truck driver? Did they just walk away? I mean, who knows? That's something that needs to be. I think that's an important little piece. I don't know. I've never heard anybody talk about that before, but I think it's an important little piece. Yeah. I really do. But anyway, we'll go ahead and say good night, everybody. And I'm going to do the good night prayer real quick here. So, Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together so we could cover these missing persons cases and unsolved homicides. And I just really pray with all my heart that somebody out there will do the right thing and make a phone call, say, hey, here's what I know, and get somebody brought home or help bring somebody to justice for an unspeakable crime. Until we see everybody next week, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. God bless, and amen.